Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This video will be a bit of a serious note, and it will describe my relationship with the cosplay erotica company, Cosplay Deviants. So as I mentioned, I'm not the only one that has had these experiences with them, but there is no comprehensive place for these videos or experiences to go. Think of this as a Better Business Bureau. Disclaimer, I was fired or terminated. My status as a model was terminated on Christmas Eve 2015 in about 3 lines of email from the CEO, Fred Dorner, and this will be an account of my personal experience with the company, and it will cover my literal experiences with them and the issues I have had with them over the years of working with them. And I will also let you know of some more rumored and alleged things that I have heard from my friends and people who no longer want to work for the company. And I'll also give you a bit of a backstory on Cosplay Deviants based on what I found in talking to people and hearing the rumors from firsthand or secondhand. Some are rumors, some are true stories substantiated by fact. So I will be talking about the actual factual information that happened to me with proof. I got receipts, I got emails, I got everything. So that'll be the first half of the video, and the second half will be more of a general story of Cosplay Deviants based on what I've heard. A lot of alleged information, and that is, I think, needed out there because there's no comprehensive explanation about the website, and it is bringing in new models every year and recruits new models at conventions every year, as well as members who get attached to the models, and then models leave inexplicably and members don't know what happened. So I think it is important to shed light on the way Cosplay Deviants treats their models. This video is mainly directed towards young models and new models who are considering applying to the company. I use that term loosely. Or want to have your work featured on their website. There are some things you should know about the company and the way they conduct business. So if you are a new model or an established model wanting to get into cosplay and you really have your sights set on cosplaydeviants.com, please make sure you watch this and read all the appendix information before you sign a contract, because there might be information here that will put you off to them. And I wish there was a little more of this information out there for me before I made my decision. Now, that being said, I did have a really good experience for the first year or so after things got weird and really unprofessional and just very clear favoritism. And it has culminated in being blocked. Now that I've been fired, I've been also actively blocked by Cosplay Deviants, and I just found that out tonight, so that's funny. I made no secret of the fact that I'm considering talking about Cosplay Deviants and their treatment of me, and then they did some weird Facebook stuff with my photos that was strange, and I commented on that, and next thing I know, now they have me blocked on Twitter. So I'm a retired model, I noticed, in their updated website. I did not retire, I was fired, but, you know, whatever, details. I also did get a model I've never really seen before, affiliated with Cosplay Deviants, saying that I'm taking things too personally or something like that. And as I mentioned, first and foremost, this video is to educate new or existing models. As for taking it personally, I really did not want to make this video. It took me a really long time to actually make the video. If you notice, based on the time all of this happened, it's been close to 6 months, and I've just been biding my time and not wanting to get into the drama. But after a certain point, when you have been dealt with unprofessionally for a really long time and you have held your tongue and gave that company the benefit of the doubt and continued to be basically long-suffering and stoic despite some of their shenanigans, and then you still continue to be mistreated while people are sort of blindly following this company and then asking, what happened? Why are you not? So I have been a model with Cosplay Deviants website for about 3 to 4 years, and it really all started in 2013, and I did close to 15 sets for them, maybe more. It's hard to sort of keep track, as they did feature a lot of my work, and it was pretty great at first, and by first I mean really the first 3 months to a year. But after I went down to Orlando and spent some time with Cosplay Deviants personally, and we did a few photo shoots, things kind of went a little weird from there and took a turn south in terms of their professionalism in dealing with models and treating their models fairly, as well as having financial issues and a lot of shenanigans when it comes to model payouts. And there's been a lot of changes to the website, or rather the contract for the model, since I first signed up in the past 3 years. And unfortunately, from what I hear, the lack of professionalism and issues with other aspects of it as a business still persist. So if you are a cosplay model who is interested in getting promoted by Cosplay Deviants socially, social media, etc., if you're looking for that boost to your fan base, etc., you should be wary. There are issues with that aspect, and there are also issues with getting paid on time and having your sets accepted for adequate reasons and being communicated those reasons. And there's some issues of favoritism and inconsistent following of guidelines and policies to exclude models from other financial opportunities. I'm not the only one who has talked about some of these things. I will be linking in the low bar an article by Vicki Valkyrie, who is one of the former models of Cosplay Deviants as well. She chose to retire on her own terms and then ran into some trouble with Cosplay Deviants. I will let you guys decide for yourselves and read that article on your own time. So to have my cosplay career and opportunities be denied throughout being part of Cosplay Deviants, and then even more so with them terminating me as a model over not explaining why. Actually, to this day I've inquired multiple times and I still don't know the official reason why I was let go as a model. I can only speculate, and the speculation does not look good for the company since it seems to be based on a political reason. So after the Gen Con and Dragon Con Ice Sculpture Party debacle, we eventually did get paid, even though it was one of those, like a bad internet company or like a phone company, you have to just call over and over to get any service done. So it was one of those. Finally got some of that done, and then came the next obstacle. So, basically what I'm trying to say, well, the website looks smooth and pretty on the outside. On the inside, in terms of the logistics of actually getting your sets processed and accepted and submitted, etc., etc., and then finally paid, that can be smooth in the best of conditions, and that's great when it is, because it's supposed to. That's how business works. But for me, about 60% of the time was spent in just constant frustration at not being paid on time, or having my sets not accepted, or just frustration in general at the internal machinery of Cosplay Deviants. It's really sluggish and prone to many issues. So let's get into the actual chronology, story of... I have to get over that word. Story time is a big YouTube category of videos, and yet every time I say the word story, my brain just goes, made up. That's the definition of story. So when you say story time about your life experience, I'm like, so what, you're like making that up? Like, it's not real? It's weird. Probably has to do with English not being technically my first language. Probably some sort of weird translation thing. But I get skeeved out when saying story when talking about what happened, because it's real. I have emails and screenshots and a variety of things to back up the factual information that I will be giving you in the first half of this video. 100% all of it has receipts. It's all backed up. So I hate to use the word story for it, but this story begins in 2013 when I found Cosplay Deviants booth at Dragon Con, and Daddy and I checked it out, thought it was kind of cool, and decided to sign up me as a model to the thing. I actually remembered later, when piecing things together, that I've heard of Cosplay Deviants long, actually before 2013. It roughly was, I think, in 2010, 2011 era. And I've actually heard of them before, and that will be talked about in the second half of the video, where we discuss the rumors and the story of Cosplay Deviants as I can piece it together and as I've been told. So that will be timestamped somewhere below. So my story with Cosplay Deviants begins in actually 2013. I saw their booth, as I mentioned, and I met Madison Valentine at the booth, and she showed me the Titty City. And Daddy and I were checking it out and thought it was really cool. And I had just started cosplaying a few years before that for funsies. And we're like deciding that this might be a perfect opportunity to marry our budding cosplay career with the already established sort of camming and the porn career. So this was perfect, and I signed up and started producing sets for them. The first 3 months were fantastic. I had my sets accepted. They went up, almost every month, which is sort of unheard of for other models, which is great because they were trying to promote me as a new model who already had kind of a following through the porn thing, and I did appreciate that. But once again, that kind of shows a bit of a favoritism, as I was the it girl for 3 months apparently. And the fans really liked me, and the members, really liked me, and they still leave really great comments on my Facebook photos from Cosplay Deviants sets and all that. And I met a lot of wonderful members of family who actually found me through Cosplay Deviants. So, love the community. Really, really great, really great members. I cannot say enough about the members of Cosplay Deviants community, which is all the more heartbreaking that a lot of their favorite models, they're not seeing featured and they don't know what's going on. And this can explain a lot of it. Some models just do not receive the same treatment as other models, and the members can attest to that. And there's also, financial mishandlings and other issues that I ran into shortly after coming down to Orlando to shoot with Cosplay Deviants personally. I really like that you can still see my 15 or more sets. I collaborated with some amazing models, and I gave them some of my best work. So, and if you do have a Cosplay Deviants subscription, please do go check out my sets and see what you think of them. I'm super proud of every single one of them. I absolutely love all that cosplay work. Super proud of it. So, there's that. And the members and the models were pretty great. That I cannot deny. However, the Cosplay Deviants company, and I say it so loosely, is basically run by two people, a husband and wife team, Troy and Kim. So, after I went down to Orlando to meet with Cosplay Deviants headquarters, the couple, it's basically just two people in terms of the active management and site upkeep, in terms of who gets to be featured, who gets featured in the books, who gets featured in calendars. All the communication is through the model liaison. I don't know if it's a paid job or not. I would assume so. I don't really know. Madison Valentine was a model liaison while I first joined, and then it was Bear short while before I was terminated, not retired. And so after I went down to Orlando, things got weird. In Orlando, things were pretty cool. It was in the middle of my Lilith set. I went to Orlando right before basically my Lilith set debuted. I was moving across the United States from that area after hanging out with Cosplay Deviants to Las Vegas, and my Lilith set is something that came out during that time. And there was like 4 or 5 sets before then. As I said, things were going really well with Cosplay Deviants, which is why I actually stopped by Orlando when I was in Florida to shoot with them. And I did more Lilith stuff. We actually body painted me. Troy and Daddy were body painting the Lilith symbols on me. And then we went out to their cafe. They have one. That's kind of their main gig, I think, in Orlando called the Geek Easy, or at least it was called that. And it's a really, really, really cool cafe. The owners are kind of dicks, but... and they were, you know, they were welcoming. Obviously, let me stay at their house, let us hang out on the couches while we were there for a little bit, in exchange for obviously free photo set and photo video on their location, so they got to be, you know, part of all that. And the photographer was a staff guy at the time, named Fisheye or something, I don't know, who was supposed to, like, develop this photo and video, and they were going to be sold to Cosplay Deviants, and I was going to get reimbursed for that, but not really sure what happened there. Never heard back from them, and they kind of dropped the ball on ever getting me the guy's information. So, and then later they were like, oh, he's not part of Cosplay Deviants anymore. Okay, that's great, but he still took footage of me that he took off with in whatever direction. I have no methods of contacting him, and I thought you guys were arbiters, and I guess just the ball got dropped. And after that brief Orlando stint, things got a little strange. I moved to the Las Vegas, and checks were getting lost in the mail. Then I moved to the East Bay in California, and checks were getting lost in the mail. And to be clear, the department that dealt with finances is Kim. So Troy does whatever it is the CEO does, and Kim is the financial manager, so she technically is in charge of giving everybody their money. And I was having issues with all of that, even though people who were living in the same area as me, East Bay, the event team coordinator, you know, the one I mentioned earlier, the one who had me blocked on Twitter inexplicably recently, even though we made some work together, and Blade Manatee, actually, they were both in my area, and they were getting their check just fine. Mine were getting lost in the mail. There's only so many times your check gets lost in the mail before, you know, you kind of start to ask questions. And whenever I'd bring it up to Troy, since I literally couldn't get an answer out of really the model liaison, it wasn't her department, and she'd, you know, be like, sorry. And I would get an answer from Kim, and then I would have to contact Troy, and he would go very unprofessionally blow up at me, and then be like, oh, you're like, you know, why you're bothering us, kind of thing. And it's like, you're really troublesome. And then it's like, oh, you did get paid. Oh, well, let me look into that. You know, so it was really weird. And there were other issues with, you know, not getting picked for books and other things. You know, Troy even had to reassure me, he's like, no, we value the model, and, you know, I assure you there's no favoritism. These other models who have like 5 sets on the website, they get to be featured in the book like 20 times. But you have close to 10 sets on our site, well, you get featured like twice. Like, okay, that makes sense, I guess. And I mean, I get really, really, really positive feedback from fans. So I can't imagine that it's, you know, fan-dictated decisions, but then again, I don't know. I just know what has happened to me, and that was very unprofessional behavior from Troy in when I would raise my concerns, and then furthermore, extremely unprofessionally, not paying your models. They did not have an automated system whatsoever. It was literally Kim writing checks by hand. It was ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Then they switched to PayPal, whatever, electronic, and that was really great for me, and I finally managed to get through all that information to them, and then the next issue hit. And that was, well, Cosplay Deviants didn't have money. And this was 2 years ago or so during Gen Con and Dragon Con, and Cosplay Deviants was saying that There's actually a big post by Kim that was asking models to just kind of hang on and tighten their, belts because Cosplay Deviants doesn't have money, so it can't really pay models for these sets that have been submitted and accepted. And maybe, after Gen Con and Dragon Con, Cosplay Deviants will have enough money to give through like the memberships that they're going to sell and the merch to pay their models, So that was the goal. The goal was, we're our family and a community and like all hang out together, please, just hold each other's hands and pray for a little bit and we're going to get money soon. That was the idea. I was like, okay, so some of us were, counting on that money as part of our, income, professionally, that we do have to give taxes on, by the way. It's like all W-9 income, MISC, 1099, whatever it is, it's all taxable income that we get from Cosplay Deviants. It's official, money as a salary. And some of us would be counting on that for, rent or utilities or whatever else, and then it's like, oh, wait, no, can't really pay you, so sorry about that. In the meantime, Cosplay Deviants was doing parties at Gen Con and Dragon Con, and they were having like ice sculptures and booked out Hard Rock or whatever other bar to, have a party with people who bought tickets, I guess. So, the fundraising was great. Great ideas of fundraising. Not sure how ice sculptures help, but I guess it's all part of the, I don't know, it's the art of the deal, or art of the cosplay appeal. I don't know. But if you notice, the fun parties that were being had by guys and models, and actually models made some money dancing, go-go dancing at these parties. Now, the event team, those were all the same people that get chosen by the event team manager. And some of them are the same people from party to party, like Model Liaison, Bear, or Madison Valentine. And so, you have staff members that essentially get to also be favored models in that way. And then also models that have cred in some way, like Suicide Girls or otherwise big names. Or I honestly don't know what the magic trick is to being favored by Cosplay Deviants, but there are some models that, despite having minimal number of sets, barely able to meet requirements for being on the event team, and living really far away from the event, which also violates the requirements, they would get picked for the event team, and people who would be much closer and expressed interest in the event would not be. Case in point, I personally spoke to Troy at Orlando Gathering in person that I would like to go to, like Anime Expo, because I'm moving to the area after Las Vegas, briefly living in Las Vegas, and then moving to the East Bay. And he said, oh, cool, yeah, absolutely, let me know when you move, we'll put you, on that team, because that sounds great, you're a great model, whatever. That never happened. Years and years and years went past of me being near Anime Expo, and I did not get invited to the event team. And that was really just weird and shady, and other people got invited that did not perform as well as me in terms of set ratings. And I don't know what really the magic formula is. I don't know if it was nepotism or cronyism. I don't know if they were friends, or they just, really clicked well together, and so they chose those people instead of people who, are fan favorites and who meet the requirements of the event team a lot better. But whatever. I'm not going to speculate on the reasons why I was not chosen, even though personally being sort of given the assurance by Troy that I would be. So that was a little weird. Likely because only 2 people run it with a limited understanding of how to budget things. I would much appreciate a company that had a higher consistency with how it treated its models, and how it dealt with its own rules, and how it applied its own rules, and obviously how it paid its models on time and accepted sets on time. Basically did anything at all by the rules as they line out professionally. That would be great, but it doesn't really do that. It's very much a kind of a haphazard situation at times. Things may have improved. I haven't been with them for 6 months or so, but since December, but I have been with them for 3 years, and that has been my experience. So after the Gen Con debacle, they decided to have 6 to 8 month wait on sets that were submitted. So normally that was not the case at all. Sets would be looked at every other week, or sometimes there would be like a month maybe of wait if it was a holiday season or they were going to convention, which is completely understandable. But this was just absolutely everything. The whole thing just slowed down. The whole machinery just completely got bogged down. And I personally had sets in, one for 6 months in the queue and one for 8 months in the queue. And there was some issue with the set theoretically because it was a green screen set, and I was told that green screen sets are not going to be accepted even because fans don't like them. Even though, from my understanding, the only green screen set that Cosplay Deviants ever had on the site was mine, Doctor Who. Some people didn't even know it was a green screen. And it has a really high fan rating, at least last time I checked. And I never saw a single complaint about green screen from fans on that set or anywhere else. So it's really odd to be told we may not accept a green screen set because fans don't like them. That's not been my experience, but who knows. And I did submit 2 sets that were flawlessly, amazingly done by the wonderful Al Apicella, and his green screen skills are fucking incredible. He did both of my, the Doctor Who one and the one I submitted. So fucking fantastic. He outdone himself on the set, and Cosplay Deviants checked it out in the preview folder and was like, okay, we'll officially take a look at it and let you know. So it wasn't like, hey, no, fuck you, that's a green screen, get out of here, we told you no already. You know, it wasn't like that. They were like, okay, we'll look at it, and then decide officially yes or no. Like, alright. So I had 2 green screen sets in for 6 months and 8 months, and friends of mine were experiencing similar lag times for their sets as well, and others were experiencing similar lag times for payment. I will talk about that later. But all of that hubbub has been going on for like a really long time, and they did acknowledge that there's a set slowdown because of something. I don't even remember if they even gave a reason. But I finally, after waiting 6 and 8 months respectively for my 2 sets, I finally contacted Cosplay Deviants in December, and I was like, hey guys, did, sets get lost in the mail, or like, I kid. I was professional, I was polite. It was like, maybe they got, lost in the cracks somewhere. Let me know if it's a yes or a no, or like I can move on one way or another. And the model liaison, who is Anastasia Bear at this point, she says, oh yeah, great idea, let me know. I'll let you know after I check in with the boss. And coincidentally, the next thing I get is an email from Troy that says, hey, you're terminated as a model. Okay, so, and they wish me best of luck, right? So, either the 2 green screen sets broke, Cosplay Deviants, they broke up our relationship, or it was the fact that I ran into some issues with the GodsGirls community, completely mistreating me and shunning me and harassing me in weird ways just earlier. So, and right before that, I also found that this event team organizer, this model, San Franciscan person, with whom I actually had a photo shoot, she blocked me. So all of that kind of happened at the same time, and I brought that up to Troy. I was like, hey, you know that eventing thing that you told me I was going to be on and that I never went on? Yeah, the lead who picks people, she has me blocked on Twitter. And we actually were together in a photo set that is in a magazine that's not here. But my set with her is a Doctor Who and Sally, sorry, her name is Sally Sparrow. But it was Sally as Rose, there you go. And I was Doctor Who, and we did a set together, and I thought we had a fine time, and we negotiated potentially doing another set together with Doctor Who, and that was fine. I do remember she commented on looking frumpy in normal clothes, because that's Rose cosplay, shortly after we did the photo set. And then I actually became pretty close friends with her best friend Denali Winter, and we shot videos together. I actually helped start up her pet play palace, and we got mentioned in the San Francisco Weekly by Susie Q that we're doing, the sort of Pet Play Palace, and I provided a lot of free content to Denali that we're supposed to share equally, and I actually got some models together and organized a lot of fun stuff. And Denali and I, we hung out for a while until she kind of stopped, and I actually never saw those videos, a lot of those videos that Denali had on her clips for sale, and that's actually what the recent tweets referred to in terms of potentially DMCAing her store, but she pulled out the clips that I was in, apparently. So even though Denali also has me blocked on Twitter now, she saw my mention of DMCA, I guess, because very shortly after seeing me in person at the Sacramento Cal OSHA hearing, didn't really say hello to me or anything, but after that, I do believe the videos were gone. So that's really unfortunate. I didn't want for her to take down the videos. All I wanted was, what was promised to me, which was share of those videos. That's all I wanted, but there's that. So I don't really know what happened, because Denali and I were close, and she was hanging at our house, and we were shooting videos for her, Pet Play Palace, and things like that. And then we're going to do a Archer set together, but I called Sally Sparrow, I was like, we want to get in on this. And she was kind of cold, and then later completely froze me out in text messages saying that I should not be cosplaying Lana ever. She essentially told me that I am not allowed to cosplay Lana Kane because of cultural appropriation or race or something. I'm not really sure. But it was very rude and very unprofessional, and I thought, I guess at that point, that we were friends because we shot together, and then I and Denali were hanging out. And I was like, yo girl, check yourself. And she got all uppity on me and accused me of being unprofessional, even though telling a fellow cosplayer who is inviting you into a photo shoot together for a particular cosplay that their skin color is not right enough to play a character is insanity. That can only be taken as a joke among friends or as extremely offensive and unprofessional. So, I chose the joke route, but, she pulled a professionalism card that she was so grossly overreaching with herself. So, that happened, and after shortly, like maybe 6 months after all that, I got terminated on the heels of a GodsGirls debacle where they completely pulled me as a model. One of the moderators pulled me as a model from their purgatory, which is kind of a tryout place where new models go, and models and members vote on this person to see if the community wants them as part of GodsGirls. And I had overwhelmingly positive rating, 82 to 85%, depending on which screenshot, what time frame you look at. And one of the moderators just decided to pull my account and just ban me from the website in that sense altogether because of some tweets she thought I was mentioning James Dean rape scandal, which I did no such thing. But I did advocate for equal human rights and equality under the law and a variety of social reforms that are necessary, or at least cultural awarenesses that are important. Some political speech, in other words. And GodsGirls somehow linked the two, and since I was speaking out on the issue of rape accusations and all of that, they somehow thought that I was promoting James Dean. It's really madness. And removed me from their website. And shortly after that, Cosplay Deviants fired me without a reason given. So, as I mentioned before, it was either due to the green screen sets, which is just insanity altogether as well, and extremely professional to tell a model, yes, just let us put this to official committee to say yes or no on these two sets, and then we're going to wait 6 to 8 months, and then we're going to fire you, without actually giving you any resolution to, basically almost a year of your life spent waiting. for us to say yes or no on sets. That was just crazy town. And the other option, of course, is that they did not appreciate my political stances and what I said on Twitter, which, as Troy himself pointed out upon me mentioning Sally Sparrow's blog of me on Twitter, is that they don't legislate what their models do on Twitter. So none of this makes any sense. If you go to what Vicki Valkyrie was saying, and if you had read that, tune in here, and you saw I have an email from Troy that says I am not competition or cosporn. Websites like mine and Vicky's are not considered competition for Cosplay Deviants, and yet they were blocking new models from being able to work with Vicki. They were telling models that they shouldn't be doing that because she is competition. So none of this is making any sense, but they are actively not only firing models like me, and also not giving other models as much attention. Therefore, they just kind of quit on their own, and I'll talk about that in the second half. Or they just straight up ban models from being able to earn money elsewhere. These are troubling things to be doing as a company that calls itself a community or a family or anything like that. So you don't really have much professionalism going on here one way or another. Now, some of the other information that you need to know is photographers and models that I personally know, I'm not going to name, but they are refusing to work with Cosplay Deviants ever again because they had not gotten paid. And there are models who have left Cosplay Deviants and joined their rival companies, actually, because they have not been paid on time, and they were just sick of dealing with what I started dealing with. So I will tell you about a model I shot with during my honeymoon period with Cosplay Deviants, and she was annoyed, and I thought that maybe it's her personal sort of issue with Troy because she was one of the founding models that started the whole CosplayDeviants.com thing with Troy, and I didn't really know what was going on there, but I did invite them to my home while I was staying in Memphis before I moved, shortly after joining Cosplay Deviants, and we shot a bunch of sets together. She brought her photographer and some drunken, disorderly friends, but that's not on her, I suppose. And they actually never really got back to me about the sets either. That's a whole nother shady business that I can tell you about in a separate story time. I just really don't want to, though, because, like, what is the point of stirring up this drama? The only reason I'm making this Cosplay Deviants video right now is because they've been continuously shitty to me after firing me for no reason, and enough is enough. After a while, you are just tired of staying quiet while somebody continues to bully you and completely mistreat you and sort of like, I don't know, you had a really good thing going and then they just shit on it. So, and on top of that, there's a lot of new models that might want to work for them, and I was personally instrumental in getting a lot of models to work with me and to work for me for Cosplay Deviants. So I feel a bit of a responsibility to tell people that's like, shit, wait a minute, you know what? Those issues I was going through, they just got worse, and then it got even worse. So, be warned. They did not really take care of their models, and there's strange issues with not getting paid. That's what PigeonFoo was dealing with too, and she left and is now a model and GeekGoddess. And here is, as I mentioned, photographers and models. I don't want to name them because they're not. Some of them are still current models who have also had issues with not being featured, even though they meet requirements more than somebody else who was featured. So it's a fickle game to think you will be popular with the inner circle of Cosplay Deviants, therefore be promoted by them a lot and be invited to event teams and go to cons and have that, sort of experience that you see people at booths having. I mean, have you not wondered why it's some of the same people over and over? It's not because other models don't want to go. It's a lot of the situations are extremely biased towards some models and others, not others. And I know a lot of you members and fellow Cosplay Deviants or whoever models, you will attest to that. You will see that over time. that there are favored, and then there's others. Perhaps you will be favored for a bit, perhaps you'll be favored for a long time, but that is not really a sustainable model or a company that I would personally want to support, especially given their reaction to me talking about my political beliefs and speaking up for human rights and equality under the law. I mean, or the fact that there was some controversy around me and they couldn't handle that, which that's not really their style either. I'm not really sure what, as I said, the deal is, but whatever. So I mentioned models who have left Cosplay Deviants for their rival company. That's not just Pigeon, and that was during my time. I actively saw her go from a model that was one of the founding models to someone who was on event teams to someone who completely left and went to work for a rival company. And here's where we get into the rumors and into kind of the shadowy town of Cosplay Deviants past, and you know, that I was able to gather together based on eyewitness events and people's sort of stories and story arcs and what they've done. So there was a model before my time who did one of the similar things too. She was supposedly wronged by Cosplay Deviants during some sort of live stream cam event, and my understanding was that she went and founded GeekGoddess, but she may have just joined it in a significant manner, or was one of the models who founded it. But either way, that was actually one of the first breaks that happened with Cosplay Deviants, and one of their models was the founding or significant growth of GeekGoddess, and to this day they take a lot of ex-Cosplay Deviants. So those models who put in a lot of hard work and did not see it really rewarded actually have ended up in GeekGoddess now. That is really interesting. There's more than one. I've seen a lot of familiar faces over the past 4 years, 3 to 4 years, get over to GeekGoddess. And as I was telling you in the beginning, I actually have heard of Cosplay Deviants before 2013, and this was during a C2E2. I met up with a cam girl back when I worked on micro cams, and we considered doing some shows together and some cosplay stuff. And we met, didn't really vibe right together, so the one thing though that was happening during the C2E2 for her was she was wearing cosplay, and she was mentioning how there's this company that she was working with or something, it was Cosplay something, that they were like kind of cool but kind of weird, and they're like, we're after her. So she was kind of this panicked, 16-year-old looking 21-year-old, and she was telling me how it's like they give you costumes, and so they even pay you up to like $100 or something for a costume, and they also pay for you to shoot a set in that costume, but then if you keep the costume, you can't do anything else in it. Like if you can't do cam shows, you can't do videos, they will come down on you like Nazis, and so you can't do those costumes, but you do at least get a costume for conventions. And she was like panicked, and she had to go back down and like avoid them some more, or I don't know. I kind of forgot about that experience altogether until I started, putting together all these things about Cosplay Deviants, and then I remembered, I was like, wait a minute, that girl was talking about Cosplay Deviants. And it's true, when I first went into them, they mentioned they used to give costumes to models, but they stopped doing that. And I thought that she was kind of weird, and here I go, sort of judging the model, thinking that she was a bit weird, and that, maybe she did break some rules, and Cosplay Deviants was rightfully coming down on her ass. That was sort of the justification that I made to myself when I joined Cosplay Deviants in 2013, upon remembering this girl, and I probably forgot about it again. But when I was piecing it all together, I was like, wait a minute, that's right. I actually had a premonition or sort of foreshadowing about this place, but chose to ignore it later on. So there was that, and then as I mentioned, a model left in a big to-do, and took some models with her to GeekGoddess, and then one of the starting models left, and some of the other starting models, I don't think they even upload anymore, but There's a constant turnaround wheel of new girls now, which I've seen expand more and more each year since I've been Cosplay Deviants. That's likely what's causing all the set delays and the payment delays. They have just gotten astronomically bigger through my time with them. I don't necessarily see it stopping anytime because of what I know of Cosplay Deviants money management. If they get a financial manager who's not Kim, that might save them. Other than that, though, they're extremely unprofessional when it comes to a photography or a video company, because I never heard back about my sets that I originally gave them, and some other sets that me and photographers spent time on fixing to abide by new CC bill laws. They never showed up either. And to ask any question from Cosplay Deviants, you need to go through the model liaison, and model liaison doesn't know all the answers, and she has to bother Troy, and he acts like he's bothered, and he's very, very rude in his emails. So it's a tone thing. It's very dickish and not very welcoming or family-like at all, which is their whole motto. And the reason they ask models to, just wait, don't get paid for a little while we have, extravagant parties at Gen Con and Dragon Con. And nobody knows this because the models, we don't want to talk about this. We feel like we don't want to jeopardize our position, obviously, within the company either. But we don't want to talk shit about our family. These are, our community. And the members are so nice, so it's like we don't really want to talk shit to them. They can't really help. So, they're paying their dues. It's really just the management. So there's really no outlet for it for any of the models to talk about. And I wish there was more than just one panic, weird girl at C2E2 one time to kind of tell me that there might be something weird with the website. Now I'm telling you guys, there's something weird with the website. If you feel like it's worth getting into it and get your name up there and making some cosplay sets and having money off of it, great. Just don't really expect the money off of it in any kind of meaningful fashion like you would any other job. Don't think it's going to come immediately. Don't think it's going to come within 30 days or whatever the contract says, because there will inevitably be a delay for your acceptance of a set. There will be a delay for your payment. You may not get paid for a while. You may be like some of these photographers who have not gotten paid for close to a year, whose emails about being paid are getting ignored. So, there's so many burned bridges that Cosplay Deviants has that it just would take too long to cover all of them, and I don't feel comfortable giving out these people's names anyway. So I'll leave it in the rumor section. This is first-hand stories. Believe me, this is what I heard. Every one of these people could have been lying to me, but, I think I know some of them a little better than that. Not necessarily everyone. Not necessarily the arbiter of truth either. These are just my experiences, and everything else that is alleged or rumored, I have notified you guys that it is. So, absolutely not trying to, slander anyone, but these are real-life experiences that I've had, and I can back it all up with emails and screenshots, and I've just had extremely unprofessional behavior from these people, and I've told you now my grievances. I have my little Festivus. This is, be warned, models out there that want to get into cosplay, specifically CosplayDeviants.com. They be shady, and there you go.